want you to understand me.
When PA was like, let's do that again, right? Let's do it again and stuff like that. Normally I would be either at a conference or whatever, blah, blah, blah. They say to do something like that. I'm like, I ain't doing that. God didn't lead me. I'm not doing that. I got to build up. You got to build up and then allow me to, Lord, you're worthy. And at that moment, God says, which is more important, I deserve it or the build up? Do I need to get my feelings all into it first before I say you deserve it? I thought dying was enough. So when does he deserve it? The moment where it feels right? So I felt like at that point, I'm like, nah, you deserve it at any moment, at any time. So today, I'm excited to be up here. Thank you, Sylvia. I'm excited to be up here because I want to explain why I'm here and why you guys are here. I mean, specifically you guys. And I told PA, it's been a while since I spoke up here, since I think it was February. And I told PA, listen, this year, I'm just going to take a pause. If God gives me something that I feel like, you got to speak it, I'll jump in. And all year, that last message was in February. All year, it's just been just a waiting and hearing and nothing forced, right? Until now, when he gave out the last schedule and stuff like that, it was already done. Next day, God says, listen, this is what I want you to speak. So at first I'm like, I feel bad. Like, I'm good. I'll speak next year. It's okay. But then I'm like, that would mess up PA's schedule. And PA doesn't like messing up the schedule. So PA, because he works hard, he strategizes it. He has to look at when he's away, when he's here, whatever. And so he set it all up, and I'm like, I gotta ask him about that. And so the title of this one, you're gonna have to control it, guys. The title, if you could put it up, is that I can rest in that. And as you can see, it says part 1. So not only did I have to ask PA, hey, can I slip in there because God finally gave me something? By the way, can I have 2 weeks too on top of that? And he's like sitting down, and this wasn't even a phone call because I'm like, I can't do this as a phone call. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come to you and we're going to sit down and talk, right? And so he said, listen, you call the people who are scheduled to speak that time, and it's all on you and between them. But fortunately, I was able to talk to them, and they were willing, and I really appreciate that. I really do. And I'm excited about today because the message that I have, if you're in the building, listen. You're supposed to hear this. This thing gives me goosebumps, what God has to say today. And so if you're hearing, this is what you're going to get out of today. Freedom from being intimidated by what's in front of you. I think of intimidation, a big guy or in sports or whatever, the second you see this thing in front of you, you're like, oh, man, maybe I can't beat this person, or maybe I can't do this or that. But yet, that's sports. But in life, we got a bunch of stuff that's intimidating us. A bunch of stuff that just by looking or hearing about it, we get, oh, snap, let me pull back. So the thing about this message today is to change our mindsets to not be intimidated by the things in front of us, by the challenges in front of us. And so that part I'm excited about because I want to be able to go in. Listen, I was listening to the interview with Jordan, and they asked him, hey, are you ever intimidated by any player? Immediately, not even a breath, a second to finish the question, he says, no. I'm not intimidated by anybody. He didn't have to say it with a strong face. He didn't say it, loud. He just said, no. It was just like clear as day. Look, I'm not intimidated by any player. And when I saw that, I'm like, man, I want that for the kingdom. I was like, I'm not intimidated by anything. God, can you bring me up there? So I'm hoping that this message is one of the tools that can help you guys get to that place that whatever comes in front of you, it's like, nah, I'm not intimidated. But here's the thing. You hear this message, you don't take in this message, here's what might happen. Your freedom taken away. Part of your freedom being taken away. I remember last week, Jawanza spoke, man, and he mentioned that story in Africa where the father dies and these group of people, I forgot the names, you can ask him about that. They would come knowing that and says, listen, either you give us your home or I take your kids, kill them, rape you, and take the home anyway. You pick. And everybody heard that story. Nobody will forget that story if you were at the message last week. Because that made you upset. That made you mad. It frustrated me. I was sitting back there almost about to cry because, God, why do they have to go through that? They're being taken advantage of. And so what I'm saying is with this message, you don't let this sink in. You have the potential of being taken advantage of spiritually. That causes to be taken advantage of physically in this world. So why I say that is I need you to understand the heaviness of why you should connect in this. What God is trying to say. I'm just the tool. I'm the dude that he's using, that he crafted all these years, but he's speaking to you. So today, we're going to talk about a slut. She probably was a prostitute, probably was a hoe. That's what we would call her, probably nowadays. She was probably sleeping around, all this stuff, doing some nasty stuff. That's what we're talking about today. It's this woman, no name. She's only defined, or seems to be defined by her actions of who she was, calling her a sinner. It's easy to say that now because we dilute that. Like to the point the world doesn't even care, like, oh, I'm a sinner, okay, cool. It has no meaning, but back then it had a huge amount of meaning. And so we're going to turn to Luke 7, 36 to 50, is where it talks about this woman. If you guys could turn there, Luke 7, 36 through 50, and I'm going to read it for you guys. One of the Pharisees asked him being Jesus, one of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him, and he, Jesus, went into the Pharisee's house and took his place at the table. Now, let me build some context for you. At this point, Jesus is on earth. He's shaking things up. People are getting pissed off. Mainly, the Pharisees are getting pissed off at what this guy's been doing, healing, everything, to the point where these religious people are so mad, they want to gather together and figure out, how do we kill this guy? The religious people, the one who holds the laws and everything. How do we kill this guy? Jesus knows this, and yet a Pharisee asked him to come eat with him. So it's like, in me, I'm just like, yo, wow, not only do you know they're trying to plot to kill you, you're willing to go into this house anyway. So he went into the Pharisee's house and took his place at the table. And behold, a woman of the city who was a sinner, when she learned that he was reclining at table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair on her head and kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. Now, when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus said to him, Simon, I have something to say to you. And he said, say it, teacher. A certain money lender had 2 debtors. One owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When they could not pay, he canceled the debt of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon answered, the one, I suppose, from whom he canceled the larger debt. And he said to him, you have judged rightly. Then turning to the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I entered your house and you gave me no water for my feet. But she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss. But from the time I came, she has not ceased to kiss my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore, I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little. And he said to her, your sins are forgiven. Then those around the table with him began to say amongst themselves, who is this? Who even forgives sins? And he said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Now, I don't know how far back or when I first heard this story, but when I heard it, my first reaction was like, man, that's crazy what this woman did. Like, that's awesome. Like, you went so humble to do all these things, your tears on his feet and everything. I just had a lot of respect for her to get to that place to do that. And I never thought about going any further than that. I always knew the Pharisee, he was a bad dude, whatever. And I thought Jesus was just Jesus, always doing the dopest things, saying the dopest parables and all that stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this is a cool story. Until recently, just really wanting to dive in and just like, well, let's get into this a little more. And realizing, wow, the stuff that's going on in here is ridiculous. And I want to get into each person that is key in here. It's the woman, the Pharisee, and Jesus. So I want to start off with the woman. The first thing that was kind of said was that she was a sinner, being talked about and all this stuff, right? Everybody labeling her, saying, yo, this is who she is. We don't know for sure what it is, but the implication is like either sleeping around, adultery, prostitution, whatever. Everybody knows her and labels her for that. It's sticking on. And it reminds me of times where me and Tiff were watching TV. I don't watch too much TV, but sometimes she's watching a series, right? And when she's watching the series, I'll jump in like episode 10, kind of see what's going on, and then I'll leave, come back episode 17. I was like, all right, what happened here? And I remember one time she was watching an episode, and the guy who I knew was married in episode 10 was sleeping with this other lady in episode 17. And I'm like, wait, what happened here? Why did he do that? And I love Tiff's phrase because she uses this a lot. And she says this, hoes do hoe things. I'm like, well, you're right, man. Hoes do hoe things. And I love that she says that. But that's the thing. That's what they put on this lady, man. She's a sinner. Sinners do sinner things. Hoe do hoe things. Right? So it could get to the point where she's hearing this a lot. Right? And we don't know what happened. She could have been taken advantage of earlier in life. Raped up. Been talked about, oh, look what you slept with this other man at a young age. We don't know what's going on. We automatically that society automatically made her the villain. Like, oh, you just want to sleep around just to sleep around. What happened? What caused her to get to that place? Was her innocence taken away? But it doesn't matter. They keep labeling me a sinner. All right, fine. It gets to the point when that label happens, you create a license to kill. Like, all right, fine. I guess that's who I am. I'm gonna do what you say I am. And so it doesn't have to be just about that. It could also be about other things outside of immorality or whatever. In this next image, you'll see this school I used to go to. It's called Highland Avenue School Number 10. And even me looking at this, man, I have a mixture of memories, and they're all not good. This is the school, if you guys heard my messages from the past, that they took me out of one school without my mom's permission and took me over here. And it was kind of weird, like I said, because the school I was at was a bunch of people that looked like me. Coming here, there was only one other black kid and me. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, they don't look like me, or they don't dress like me or anything like that, right? So this is the place where I discovered, based off other people's opinion, I was less than. And so the most popular girl in the class, all the boys liked her. Blonde hair, blue eyes, all that stuff, everything. I remember one time looking at my face saying, "You're ugly." And I'm like, oh, wow. If the person up top says that, that must be the case, because I don't look like you guys. And so all that time, I'm serious, from then, this is elementary school, I took the label on, I'm like, dang, I'm ugly. Don't even think about having a girlfriend. Like, you're not even at that level. And for years and years, I just stayed away. I didn't even accept myself in that way because they told me who I was. They gave me the labels. They gave me license to kill my self-esteem. They gave me license to kill the identity because that's what the society was saying. So this is what this lady's going through, or could be going through. They're just labeling her, giving her, saying that, yo, this is who you are. To the point where I'm sure she probably just accepted it, whatever. This is who I am. And so the part next in the verse, and standing behind him, in verse 38, at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair on her head and kissed his feet and anointed them with ointment. By the way, FYI, if you ever print something, make sure you don't put it double-sided because you'll forget that there's more information in the back. I'm like, yo, why am I all the way over here already? I'm supposed to be over here. So, this woman took her, like, this is crazy. She took her hair. Now, if I were her, this is how I'll come in. I'll come in with the ointment and be like, okay, I know what I'm going to do here. All right, I want to, I am crying. I understand, whatever. I'm going to put the ointment down, but, I feel led to probably wipe it. I'll probably be like, oh, okay. Like, I'm just going to wipe it right here. It's kind of easier because his feet's there. But she took her hair. That's not even comfortable, wiping it. And I want to get to later what causes something like that. But for me, like, I have a lot of respect for women and their hair. Like, I love my wife's hair. I just love her curly hair and everything. But honestly, I'm like, the things you guys have to go through for your hair, listen, respect. I mean, I remember one time she was getting her hair cut or something. I'm like, all right, I'll go there and wait for you. And I sat in the salon, and then in this next image, I saw this. And I'm like, okay, I didn't realize you guys do some freaky stuff in there. Like, you got antennas and stuff like that sticking in your hair just to get that look. And I'm like, listen, the things you do for your hair, like, respect. And listen, women, I respect it. Like it takes your hair seriously and stuff like that. And so I remember hearing stories of people who would cut their hair and they would cry. They knew they needed a cut, but they would cry because it's like, that hurts. And I can't speak for that because my hair disappeared, but that hurts. And so I know my wife, when she was first getting her like really low cut, she was concerned. She was concerned about how I would feel. She was concerned how she would look. And it's just like, it's intense. It's intense. But a woman's hair is like a crown of beauty. It's like a crown of beauty. I mean, it could be in a negative way or a positive way. It doesn't matter. But it's this crown of beauty that this woman took off and put at the feet of Jesus, wiping it down. Like, I've heard stories of women who have, like, cancer and having to cut their hair off. Man, that hurts. You can't act like that doesn't hurt. But she took that and was like, listen, I'm going to take this down and wipe that dirt off. Wipe all that stuff off. Because they were walking in their feet. Wipe all that nastiness off your feet, Jesus. Imagine like Tiff's going to the salon and saying, I'm going to do this. And then she comes back home with a lot of dirt in her head. I'm like, who feet you been wiping? Like, let's not do that. Like, but that was her worship. Now, the woman comes in, and they're standing. Now, mind you, some people take this the wrong way. They think that at that time they came and they took a chair and they sat down and ate. When on all actuality, they came and they were laying down on their left arm like this. So Jesus' feet is out, chilling, and they're eating like that with the other hand. And so she comes and she stands over, and the Bible says she was standing, so we're wondering, was she hesitating? Should she do this or not or whatever? And I wonder, what if she hesitated? What if she came into this house that reminds her who she is, who they say I am, and what if she was like, you know what, I'm sorry, and left? Stuff like that scares me because it would never make the Bible, and we as people would never get this experience. And so hesitation, worries, and all that stuff concerns me. And even in my own life, I remember this guy, he told me, hey, listen, why don't you, he was trying to give me some ideas about rest, since we're talking about rest this year. He said, look, why don't you take 20 minutes a day, sit down, do nothing, just think of God, right? And so I was doing it. First day, I'm kind of excited about it. So I'm like, everything's going good. By day 3 or 4, it was difficult for me because all the worries, everything that was happening was flooding my mind. And I'm like, dang, Jesus, like, I'm here to sit with you. Why is the worries taking over my mind? And it's more powerful than the thought of you. And so he was showing me. He's like, because I'm more concerned about the worries and the feeling that the worries give me. I just want to get rid of it, so I want to solve it myself right now. I don't have time to kind of think of you in this moment, in this quiet time. See, worries and hesitations can really alter or mess up or distort your time, your connection with God. Now, I want to say this next point. I'm trying to see the best way to go about it. And it's about what Jesus did there. Now, my first job that I was, my first job after 10 months of being jobless, it was around 2008. The whole recession stuff happened, everything. I had a nice graphic design job. I went to school for that, so I actually have that job. I was so happy about that, finally. And then they had to let me go because they couldn't afford it anymore. The recession was happening, all this stuff. So I'm out of a job, one of the worst periods of my life because I felt like nothing. I couldn't pay my bills. I had just got the car. I had just got my first car, and I couldn't make the payments. I couldn't pay the insurance. I was getting the letters in the mail. And I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. Unemployment ran out twice. And I'm like, God, I need something. So finally, my cousin, he was able to get me a job working with this company at Cintas. And the next 2 images, if you could pull it up, this is kind of the work I had to do. Now, I didn't care at the moment. I'm like, yo, I got a job. I got something. Let me just jump into this. But, oh, man, the very first day. So what they do is they go travel around to businesses, and they'll clean up everything, right? They'll clean up everything. So the first day, first stop is at this warehouse. They do things with steel and all that stuff, and it's, really dirty in there or whatever, and we needed to go into the bathroom and clean. So I'm like, all right, I got a job. I'm good. So we're the guy who's training me, we bring that big machine in. We open the bathroom door. Oh, my goodness. When I say, you'll understand what I mean. It smelled so bad, my eyes started feeling it. That's how bad the thing, I'm like, are you serious? I'm looking, I'm like, yo, how do you get that on the wall? There's a toilet for that. It was disgusting. And the first hit of that, I'm like, what am I doing here? So in my mind, similar to that, it's like, first of all, that experience working at that job, thank God got me out. I would not come to your home and clean your bathroom for that reason. Like, there's nothing I wouldn't willingly be coming to your bathroom to clean up and do that, because that experience I had there was just disgusting, right? And I think about the woman, why was she going to something like that? Isn't that the same thing? Like, yo, you coming into this Pharisee's house? What's the point? For them to remind you who you are? For them to tell you, yo, you're a sinner, you're this, you're that? They already know you. Everybody knows you. Why would you go in somewhere like that? The so-called highest form of judgment of if you're moral or not, these Pharisees, why would you go in there? And I was asking that question, and then it reminded me about that time at Cintas, working for these guys. And I was like, I remember that moment, something switched in me. The second I smelled and saw all that crap, I said, I'm trying to get this paycheck. Because all these months not getting, I'm not going to be all bougie now. I need this to get paid. And so, I would not come to your house and clean up your bathroom, but if there was an Apple laptop involved in the payment afterwards, that might change my mind a little bit. She would never go into that Pharisee's house, but if there was Jesus in there, that might change my mind a little bit. Because I think about, if you tell me to come to your house, I got this Apple laptop, you know what I could do with that laptop? You know the things I could create, how much it would make my life better? Shoot, I'll come to your bathroom, clean up everything. Where's the brush? Let's scrub this urine and all that stuff off, right? You know what I can do with that laptop? And it's the same thing she felt. She recognized, you know who's in there? I'm going in. That doesn't change the smell of the place, the labels they're throwing at her, all that stuff. It doesn't change any of that. But when you put Jesus inside there, that changes everything in me. I could care less what's in there. I'm going after him. So she doesn't care because she can rest in that. In what? In the truth that Jesus is in there. She can rest in that. And that's what's pushing her, and that's what's motivating her. Something we got to remember that I didn't realize, this is the scenario I put in my head when I first read this story. I thought that she heard, Jesus was there, Jesus was coming, all this fun stuff, right? And that she was like, all right, cool, Jesus is there. Let me go buy this ointment. Cool, nice, let's go. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get in there. This is how I thought the story went down. I'm going to get in there, all right? I'm going to feel overwhelmed, so I'm going to cry. I know it. I'm just going to cry. I'm going to cry on his feet. And then once I do that, my hair. I'm going to use my hair. This will be a dope story for everybody here. I'm going to use my hair, wipe it down, and I'm just going to start kissing his feet. That's what I'll do. All right, let's go. That's what I thought originally. But I don't believe that's how it went down. I believe she knew Jesus was there. She learned he was there. She bought the ointment to anoint his head, because that's kind of what it was doing. They would normally do it with oil, which is cheaper than ointment, to anoint a person's head. And I'm sure she was trying to do that, but by the time that she got there, the joy, the everything, the emotions, the labels, the everything that people are saying about her, and knowing that this man is saying it's washed away, just overflooded her with just joy and love, and she just started crying. Just started crying, and I like how one commentator said, she was like, she allowed the Holy Spirit to move her, to just act on your instinct, because the Spirit is moving you right now. What is the Spirit telling you to do next? Use your tears to put it on his feet. All right, what's next? What do you feel the Spirit saying? Use your hair to wipe it down. Because like I said, I would have just been like, and it's done. Use my clothes. I'm still good with my hair. But she had to have been Spirit-led to do that. Her original intent was just to do one thing, but it led to do something that's so amazing. You know how many people anointed other people's head? It's not in here. But what she did, we now know who she is. Now, one thing we got to remember, here's a quote that somebody said about the culture at the time. To unbind and loosen hair is considered disgraceful and indecent for a woman. She knows that. They already labeled you and everything. You want to add to it? Take your hair out? Like, you already know that's disgraceful there. And you in the moral house of the Pharisees. But she was so focused and she was so led that her actions, although it was loving to Jesus, it seemed weird to the Pharisee. The whole point that I want to get at is that she'd allowed the truth of Jesus to rest in that. She allowed that to sink in her heart. And that's what I was warning you guys about. Allowing things to sink in your heart, because that's what powered her to move. That's what powered her to make these weird decisions that looked weird, but to Jesus it was loving. If you show the next picture, that's an example of the jar that she probably would have had. And going to the next verse. When she learned, and behold, verse 37, a woman of the city who was a sinner, when she learned that he was reclining at table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment. So the first thing I think of, that push, that movement that caused her to move, I think about her heart. How did this truth sink in? And what did she use to make it sink in? And I'm asking you guys a question too. The truths that we know about God, what are you using to make it stick in your heart? In this next image, I want to show you different types of writing tools, right? And this is kind of how I measure our actions, like what causes us to push and do. Sometimes we write the truths that we have in here in pencil in our hearts. The problem with that, we already know we can't sign contracts in pencil. You just take it and erase it. It's gone. It's just that easy. Based off your actions of things that God is telling you, is it written in pencil? Or let's use a pen or a Sharpie. Now that's a little better, that's a little stronger and everything like that. You write on the paper, you can't just erase that. Is that the way it's written in your heart? The only problem is you let weather or anything outside circumstances, you can either get rid of that piece of paper or the weather washes it away, the storm washes it away. So outside circumstance has an effect still, even though pen and Sharpies are permanent, right? But I think this is what the woman did. I think she engraved the truth of Jesus in her heart. Engraving something means you take a hammer and chisel and you are little by little. It's not no quick written thing. It's little by little to to get that engraved in your heart. It takes time, it takes effort. That's why rest is important, because that's the time that's needed to engrave things in your heart, not just write them down, not just hear them like you hear here. Ooh, that was good. Ooh, that's like the Christian lingo. Yes, yes, yes. Ooh. And I'm saying, like, it's cool to have that, but sometimes that is a pencil. Sometimes that is just a pen, and when something happens, that paper is washed away. But when you take that and say, I'm taking this home, I'm going to sit here and rest in God, I'm going to let him chisel this into my heart. Is God's promises in pencil, or is it engraved with a hammer and chisel in your heart? And I think that's what caused her to take that action, to just push forward, because there was no stopping that. Nothing changed in the circumstance just because she walked in. It was the same Pharisee's house. But it didn't wash her away. It didn't make her hesitate or anything, because it was chiseled in. And we look at our situations or our circumstances. How many times has things been erased off because we face something right in front of us? How many times has it been washed away because the storm is too heavy? Now, with something engraved, the storm can still be there. I'm not saying that it's going to disappear because you chiseled it in. It's just saying it's not going anywhere. It's right here. So use that to see, like, what is my action saying? Is it pencil? Is it chiseled in? One part that I love, if you go back to that verse right before, oh man, this part gets me. And behold, a woman of the city who was a sinner, when she learned that he was reclining at the table. So when I'm studying and getting this ready, I'm like, all right, let me go back to that verse where she was like, I heard Jesus was at the Pharisee's house. When I went back to read it, I'm like, wait, it doesn't say she heard, it says she learned. She didn't just hear it, she learned that Jesus was there. And for me, I'm like, oh, wow. It went from, good stuff, I heard it. We all hear it, we all know it. But she learned it and took action. When she learned Jesus was at the Pharisee's house, we know what happens. Everything that happens at the end, she's forgiven, all this crazy greatness. When she learned Jesus was at the Pharisee's house, when she learned Jesus was at the Pharisee's house, when she learned Jesus was in my joblessness, when she learned that Jesus was in your difficult marriage, when she learned that Jesus was in your depression, when she learned that Jesus was in those labels, when she learned that, she took action because she knew where he was. So she went in knowing he's there. Are you going in knowing that he's there in my loneliness? Are you going in knowing that he's there in that difficulty in my marriage, but I'm going to go after it anyway because he's chilling in there? Are you knowing that going in? That's the key part. That's the part that made me so happy, because she knew before acting. And the only way you know before acting is resting and allowing it to chisel in. I spoke a message about just all my past stuff and everything. And the part that I can't get enough of is God showing me what all of that was for. And I can easily say, I would not change it for anything. I didn't see it at the time. God was that graceful to show me, oh, I was there. Now, we get to the Pharisee. If you could pull up his beautiful image. When I think about the Pharisees, man, I think about the evil dude, the bad guy, boo, all that stuff, evil grin, this shot, like, yeah, pointing, the classic, sign of a Pharisee, just the pointing part. I want to talk a little bit about his actions. And I come into this and I want to be the woman And I want Jesus to connect with us. And of course, it's the easiest thing to dismiss the Pharisee in regards to us. That's the easiest thing to do. He's the villain. Like, it's so easy to villainize or whatever someone else's action. But the same exact actions, you're like, oh, but, I had a reason. And I'm guilty of that. Watch. When I was in the car, somebody cut me off. Like, we trying to get out the exit. They cut me off. Are you serious? Like, you see me here? Like, these guys don't care. These guys don't care. Right? And I'm driving one day and all this stuff. And, I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm like, oh, man. This long line that's people trying to get out the exit. Like, I missed it. Oh, man, shoot. Let me try to get in here. I hear the beep, beep. I'm like, listen, I didn't know. I get in there, right? And so it's like I made myself so innocent, but when it flipped, like, oh, you're evil, like, Pharisee, like, right? So it's so easy to do that and dismiss the fact that we need to learn where in our lives do we have the eyes of a Pharisee. So the Pharisees' problem, straight up, was a grid issue. It was a grid issue. When you're coming from a certain grid, everything looks a certain way. His whole intention to invite Jesus wasn't just to have let's talk this out. Similar to how politics are today. They just want to talk it out, have an honest discussion about things. And I love that. They're a great model. So they just want to talk it out. Like Pharisees, I just want to see, man, you believe this? I believe this. Let's work it out. No, he wanted to see, let me get a closer look at this guy and find out how fake he is. And why I say that, it's like, remember the little line like, oh, if he were a prophet, he would know. And then Jesus says, hey, I have something to say to you. And listen to a little bit he says. He's like, say it, teacher. You ain't a prophet. You're not a savior. You're not none of that. I'll call you. You're just a teacher. You're a dude that got up and read and stuff. Like you're just a teacher. And so why a grid issue is important to understand, from my example, literally just yesterday, this happened. I woke up. I didn't allow myself time to spend with God, and I wanted things a certain way from my morning on Saturday. And then all these little things were happening that just was annoying me, but there were nothing. There were little things, but yet I let it be so big in my mind because I had a grid that this is how it's supposed to be. And so I started acting a certain way. I'm like, yo, don't talk to me. I was very short with people and all that stuff. And then afterwards, I kind of sat down, prayed, and realized my actions. So I called a couple people up. I'm like, listen, I apologize. All these things were just stupid because I came off at a certain grid. Like, everything would have been negative. I mean, you would have been like, give you $100. Oh, what, you think I'm poor? Like, everything was negative. Everything was negative. But that's the same thing with the Pharisees. She saw what was worship and said, listen, you're not righteous. You're not a prophet. You don't know who this woman is. Everything was negative. Where in your life do you see through the eyes of the Pharisee? And so the last thing about the Pharisee is that he invited Jesus so that Jesus can give him something. Proof that you're not who you say you are. The woman came in to give Jesus something, not expecting from him. And so when I think about that, honestly, straight up, I think about church, us here. Are we the Pharisee? Hey, I'm going to come in. What do you have to give me? Worship was all right. Yeah, I wasn't really feeling this one song, but, last week was better. Yeah, Jag was all right. I wish he, kind of did this and that and made me laugh a little more. It would have made me hear better. That's a consumer mindset, bro. You coming in like, what you got for me? This woman is the example that we need to take. I'm coming in. I purchased this stuff. I'm coming in to give to you. What do I have to give to you today? And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, I would love to have this song, and this song, because they really move me. But today I'm like, yo, whatever song you got for me, Jesus, I'm gonna give you my heart. I'm gonna give you all of me. I don't care what song they're singing. You're gonna get my heart. You're gonna get all of me because you deserve it. Now, going into Jesus. Jesus, man. This guy is the best, man. He can maneuver. I mean, even that parable he said, he maneuvered and just did some crazy behind stuff. And if we go into verse 40, he said, and Jesus answering said to Simon, I have something to say to you. Now, this is right before Simon said, man, in his head, mind you, in his head, man, this guy's not a prophet. If he was a prophet, he would know who's touching him. And Jesus answers saying this? And I'm reading this, I'm like, yo, are you serious, Jesus? Like, you missed an opportunity here. Like, seriously, like, you could have been like, if I were you, Jesus, I would have sat down, having all my superpowers, right? Sitting down, chilling, and the guy says, if he knew, if he was a prophet, he would know that this woman's a sinner. And I would have been like, hey, I heard that. I'm a prophet because I heard that. Are you listening? I am a prophet. And so my thing is, that would have knocked out the whole foundation of the Pharisees' whole agenda, would it not? Because he came in wanting to find something to be like, I got him. And he just said, I got him. He's not a prophet. And I would have been like, oh, you're wrong. I am a prophet. I heard you, right? And so I'm like, Jesus, you missed an opportunity to do that. And I'm like, yo, I saw an opportunity for you to be able to adjust that. And we think about our life, there's a bunch of opportunities. I'm like, yo, Jesus, I would have went about that differently. You didn't see the opportunity? Like little stuff. Like I remember reading Steve Jobs' biography, and he was in Sunday school, a kid, right? And there were people, I guess he looked at the newspaper, people were killed or some craziness. He's like, does God knows that this is happening? Why would he let that happen? The person, the teacher, the Sunday school teacher, couldn't give an answer, I guess. I didn't know how to explain it to a kid, and he was like, forget it. And Steve Jobs said, I discard Jesus, God, and everything, right? I'm like, Jesus, you didn't see an opportunity to just let the Holy Spirit give her the right words to be like, boom. And it's like, oh, and he could have been saved. Like Steve Jobs could have been proclaiming Jesus and everything. And I see that a bunch of times. I'm like, yo, you don't see the opportunity? And answering me back, he says, do you remember the D-League? I'm like, what? And I feel like, yo, Jesus, are you doing another one where you're trying to give me a parable and you're not answering the question directly? And it's like, listen, do you remember the D-League? And in this logo, this next image, this is the logo of the D-League. It's the NBA D-League. And what this is basically the minor league. NBA is the major league. D-League is the minor league, right? And in the D-League, the teams have like an extension of their team. So my favorite team is Chicago Bulls. And in the D-League, they're called Windy Bulls. Or Windy City, I don't know. It's really whack. And so it's a developmental, kind of league to develop their players. And sometimes what happens if they're not doing good, for example, Jeremy Lin, after a while when he first got into the NBA, he wasn't doing too well, so the NBA team sent him to the D-League. You know how hard it is to get in the NBA? And then you're told you're being sent to the D-League? That hurts. And the problem is, the D-League's mindset is so different from the NBA because you're trying to show out so you can get what they call a call-up. So they call you up to the NBA and you can play with them. And so he's trying hard and everything, and then he finally gets a call-up because he's doing good. But that's like the effect that the D-League has. It's just like, oh, okay, you go amongst them, right? And it's so crazy, the D-League is not even relevant to us. Like, for those who know, the NBA, who won the championship last year? Anybody know? Warriors. Who won the championship in the D-League? Yep, exactly. No, and I didn't realize till this sermon, I'm like, oh, people win championships? Like, I didn't think y'all went that far because they're not relevant. Like, it's just whatever. And so Jesus reminded me of that. And he's like, listen, I know, man, you saw an opportunity. Like, you saw this, you saw that. I'm like, yeah, Jesus, you could have got this guy. You could have cut this Pharisee down in his whole agenda. I saw an opportunity here. I see an opportunity there. I see an opportunity over there, but why are you not thinking like me? And he says, listen, I'm sorry, Jag, you saw something I didn't see. Like, I didn't see that. I didn't see that opportunity. I'm sorry, I was too busy seeing what the Father was doing. Because, Jag, that's all I could do. I can't do anything else but see what the Father's doing. What are you looking at? And so he's telling me this, and I'm like, yo, I'm thinking D-League section. And he's in NBA, the point of it all. The point of the whole kingdom and everything. That's what I'm thinking. You thinking D-League stuff. Why you down there? Come up. We got work to do. So I was trying to be like, Jesus, you need to defend yourself. You need to tell him you're a prophet. And while Jesus is like, you on defense, I'm on offense for his soul. I'm trying to break things down for him so he can understand. But you stuck on defense, you stuck on D-League stuff. You need to get up here. See, the problem is we're kind of being deceived in a way. And I want to explain it this way, where he's trying to show the point of it all. If Jaden, where are you? Oh, there you are. I'm like, I can't, you should be tall enough for me to see you. So I want to just show kind of what is the point of this all. So we have the word, right? We have the word of God here and all this truths and all this stuff. And we hear it. It comes in our, turn that way. It comes in our ear, and it either comes in our ear and goes into our hearts to sink in. That's what happened with the lady. She heard something, heard it, the word, it sunk in. Like messages we hear, we either see something God did, it sinks in and sits in there, right? And so the whole point of it all, this is what the enemy's really trying to do. You hear something, hey, or see something, and it's coming down, and he's like, oh, let's not let that go down there. let's keep that right up there. Just keep it in the section. Ooh, that was good. Let's keep it there. Yeah. Let's make sure we don't touch that, right? And so what he's trying to do is make sure that it doesn't chisel in. So he just pops it up. Listen, you could sing all the songs you want. I'm good with that. Just don't let it come down here. Whoa, let's keep that up here. Let's keep that in the mind maybe, but let's not let it sink into the heart. Thanks. That's what's going on here. That's the whole point of it all. And so what I want to say to you guys is don't get it twisted. This is not about rest. This is not about journaling. This is not about having quiet time. I know, I see the letters over there. It says rest. I know the theme of the year says rest, but this is not about rest. It's not about Sabbath. It's not about journaling. It's about something higher than that. And I'm saying that is because we're battling in a league of, do I have time? I don't have time. I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to find time with God. I'm like, hold up. I didn't realize you were authorized to state something like that. I didn't know you were the creator of time to determine that you don't have time. I didn't get that memo. And so you stuck on battling, can I figure out how to rest? Can I figure out how to have a Sabbath? I'm like, yo, you stuck on D-League stuff? This is more than that. There's something higher at stake. He's trying to stop you from getting that stuff in your heart. He's trying to stop you from getting these truths in your heart so that when it gets in your heart, it flows through your veins. It powers you and enables you to go and break through this wall over here. It break through this wall that's called the Pharisee's house and connect with Jesus. That's what he's trying to do. You stuck on finding time to rest? You trying to figure that out still? Yo, get up here. Get in the major leagues. This is about the enemy trying to take that away from you. Trying to take his blood to get inside of you and power you. We caught up in this little stuff, man. And that's what he's trying to tell us. That's why he's been telling me, like, get off this little stuff, man. It's bigger than that. Figure it out. Whatever. He's the author of time. Ask him, how can I do this, rather than stating what he owns. Like, I don't have time. In the next verse, verse 34, something else Jesus said. Turning towards the woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? And I'm seeing this thing, and I'm like, okay, cool. He's trying to say, maybe the Pharisee looked away and was disgusted about this whole thing or whatever. It's like, do you see this woman? And there's many ways to look at this. One way could be like, do you see this woman? This Pharisee, do you see this woman? She's human too. Do you see her? And I don't think that's what he's saying. At least I don't feel like that. But I feel like what God was showing me was this. Do you see this woman? The Pharisee was probably looking away. And Jesus says, do you see this woman? He's almost like commanding him in the form of a question. Look at her. So, seeing that, I'm like, hold on. That's a great and a bad thing. It's bad because I think when we walk day to day, there's a lot of questions that's thrown at us. Within ourselves, within life, within media, within how America is crafted, there's a lot of questions that's thrown at us for what should be prioritized, what should be the most important thing, what kind of glory we should get, what kind of fame we should get. There's a lot of questions being thrown at us. Are they commanding us and we don't know it because we just see them as a question? Are they altering our mindset? Rest allows us to find those little things, to get it out of our minds and make sure, oh, nah, that's a question the world is trying to give me. Let me make sure I don't let it command me. And on the flip side, when we don't know what's going on in life, and God, I'm doing everything right, we're like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. And you're leaving this big, empty, unanswered question. That just might be a command he's asking you to do something. When you don't understand what's going on, it's whatever. I don't understand this and that. He might be doing the same thing here, asking you a question, but giving you a command in the form of a question. You should be doing something. You should figure out what I'm calling you to do in this hard time, in this confusing time, in this uncertainty. So we can take these questions two ways. We can answer it and be commanded by the world, or we can be commanded by Christ. Which are you going to choose? And we go to the verse, therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. This is something else Jesus said. Now here's the problem I have with this. If I were the woman, and I'm sitting here kissing his feet, right? And therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Jesus, hold on. Let me put your foot down. Why are you emphasizing which are many? There's no need for all that. You could have been like, therefore, her sins are forgiven. You didn't have to add her sins, which are many, are forgiven. Like, why you got to add the extraness to that? And I felt like God told me, listen, and I wrote this down, the greater the setup, the better God can be seen. Listen, I have to let you know that it's many, it's huge, it's a lot, it's filthy, it's disgusting, it's all of those things. I have to let you know that I know every little bit of it. I have to let you know that, because then when you see what happens and me forgiving you, you will see how big I am. The more you realize who you are, the filthiness, the disgustingness, and all that, and yet still I come through, then you can see how big I am. So when we look at our situations, why you gotta be like this? Why you gotta do this? Why you gotta add this? Oh, another thing. Oh, I can't win for nothing. I can't win for nothing. All this stuff, it's just like, no. I'm trying to show you how big I am in the midst of all your crap that you're going through. In the you're dealing with or that you're doing all that stuff. I want you to know it well, because then you will see how great I am. That's why she loved much, because she was forgiven much. I don't want to be the dude that loves little and is forgiven little. Now, let's go back to the ointment, right? The ointment, so she purchased and poured and all that. You know what happened. You know everything, right? So, question, what money did she use to get that? It's possible if she were a prostitute, maybe all that money gathered up to get something so expensive like that. What money did she use? It's like, Jesus, do you know where she got that? Because I don't know. I don't know if you want that type of ointment to be pouring on your feet like that. You don't know where she got that. And so what hit me the most is that all your disgusting, your filth, your terrible things, your pain, the terrible things, all that can be converted. All of that can be converted. All the tears, all the labels, all the everything, even though it was used for other stuff, it can be converted. You can go into a place of judgment and turn it into a house of worship. Just because you decided to chisel that in your heart and know, like, oh, I'm going to take all that I've been through and pour it out to you. That's my worship. And he loves it the same. We need to take all these things that we went through and cash it out to convert it into worship. The only way you do that is allowing yourself to rest, is allowing yourself to know what's really going on. Real quick, due to time, I just want to say this summer was a rough summer for me. I had an awesome thing happen to us, and that's my girl Bella. Oh my goodness, man. I can't get enough of this girl. I really can't. She's just beautiful. She brings me and Tiff closer. You would think otherwise. Oh man, you've changed her, you feed her. No, she brings us closer. I'm privileged enough to have that. And so this summer, she came, and then work got crazier, and then opportunities came that God gave me to be able to have the opportunity to speak to youth in high schools, doing like a leadership workshop, all this stuff, but it was so heavy on me. The part that was the hardest was that I used to, and it took me a while, I used to wake up early to spend time with God, worship, read the word and study. And that's my connection with God. And I was so happy about it. I'm like, thank you, God. And so when Bella came along, that changed dramatically. Because I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna still do this. Like, perseverance. Oh my gosh, he'll be up at 1, up at 2, up at 3. I'm like, I can't focus on you, Father. All right, I'm tired. Like she is up every hour. She needs to be fed. And so I was feeling bad. Like, I'm like, I'm not even connecting with you. We talking about rest. I'm glad I'm not speaking because I'm not even resting the way I want. And so I'm feeling so bad. And I'm like, look, if I was this lady, and Jesus showed me, like, listen, I want you to hear what's going on here. If I switch the scenario, I make you the lady, right? I make you the woman, and you talking about your summer and all that stuff, this is what you would be like. You would hear and learn that I'm in the Pharisee's house, and Jag would have been like, all right, let me know when you're in the synagogue or the chapel. Then I'll meet you. Because for me, I was looking for certainty. I wanted things predictable. I can wake up in the morning, spend time with you, da-da-da-da-da. If I can't, I can't. And so God was showing me, oh, you wanted me in the chapel chilling. It's easy. You know I'm there. But the second chaos happened in your life where you have no control, the second you saw or heard me in the Pharisee's house, you weren't trying to go. Just because I wasn't in the church. And so what God's trying to say is that in the chaos, you think I'm that limited? You can't find me in the chaos? You gotta be like everything's quiet and chill and dim lights. Babe, you put me out there a couple of weeks ago. Dim lights and everything like that. You think that's the only way I could be found? I'm in everything if you wanted me to be. You put me there or you look for me there. It's your choice. And so the last verse I want to end with, and it reminds me of a TV show, How to Get Away with Murder. Love that show because of the storyline. I love how, I remember first watching it, I'm watching. I know exactly what's going on here. This is good stuff. And then one scene happens, changes everything I saw. I'm like, what? Look, that's not what I thought it was, right? So for me, this is almost like that, where it's like it goes, we know everything, we see everything, we know everything that happened, but let's go back to the very first verse. One of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and took his place at the table. Not only did he sit at the table, he took it. Jesus went into the Pharisee's house, took his place at the table, took his place at the throne of our problems, took his place at the throne of our challenges, our hard times, everything that we're going through. Took his place there. And for me, that makes me so excited that we can come in and be like, oh my goodness, he ripped it, he took it. It's like, I'm taking my spot. I'm taking ownership of this. I'm here to dominate. Will you come dominate with me? That's what he's asking us to do. I'm there. And so when we allow the stuff to sink in, the stuff to power us to push through the Pharisee's house, you'll find that he was chilling there, resting in your right, in your problems, in everything. And so what I'm saying is rest is important. Don't get tricked. I'm about to say something so powerful. I'm about to say something so strong. You're going to be amazed. That's what I believe. Jesus died for you. Now, for some of you, you're probably like, okay, Jack, that's Christian 101. I saw the picture of the little cartoon thing in Sunday school. I was like, yeah, he was on the cross and he died for you, no blood, no nothing. Jesus died for you. Here's the problem, man. Here is the problem. Do you see what he's doing? Jesus died for us. Whoa, let's not let that sink in. It's Christian 101. Oh, don't let that sink in. Because if it were to sink in, it wouldn't matter if God never blessed you with anything ever again. Money, nothing. If you have nothing to say for you, your limbs are off, everything. But that truth alone, Jesus died for you, that's enough to power us and break through the walls. But as long as he keeps it Christian 101, as long as you don't meditate on that, you don't rest on that, you don't let it sink in, that's how he stops us. And so what I'm saying today is let the truth sink in so you can say, I can rest on that because I chiseled it in. Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for your word. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for allowing us to see a model of a woman that demonstrates her worship to you with her junk. And I ask that the people in here, like, I really want them to understand and listen and hear you when you say, let these things sink in, because something's bigger at stake here. It's not about rest, but it's about the fact that he wants a people that would let truth sink in, empower them into worship. So I ask that you touch their hearts and let this sink in. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you, guys.